Hey Hofstra fans, welcome inside the WB Mason Coaches Report with Seth Tierney. I'm Anthony Barra, joined by Seth Tierney, the head coach of the Hofstra men's lacrosse team. Coach, thanks for the time. How are you?
Thanks, Anthony.
And Coach, you had a conference game against Delaware, your first conference game of the year. You're able to come away with a 13-5 win. Were you surprised that the game was that lopsided and you dominated them in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you think about a Hofstra-Delaware game, you think about a war, you think about a one-goal game, you think about overtime, you think about that play that's going to win it. And that's the way it was up until halftime. It really was, and we knew it was going to be a battle. Listen, they're a very well-coached team, and they got some great players. I was proud of the way we responded in the second half, and I was certainly it was better the way we executed some things, and we failed to clear the ball a little bit too much for my liking in the fourth quarter. We're going to pay attention to that because that could end up losing games for you later on. But for right now, it was a nice way to start the CAA season.
Now defensively, J.P. Brazel was the defensive coordinator for Delaware last year. Now he's your defensive coordinator, and the defense is able to pitch a shutout in the second half. Why were they so effective?
I mean, listen, JP certainly played a great role. He did, and he understands their personnel. Coach Unterstein did a great job as well with the face-off X. And when you have the ball, you're playing great defense when the ball's down the other end. But certainly Coach Brazel and Coach Unterstein, as I mentioned in some other media outlets, they deserve some credit there because that's a powerful team with Grant Calico and a bunch of their strong middies. Those guys can play. And to hold those guys to no goals, and Andrew made some good saves for us, and John made it a little bit, competitive at the X. Everybody chipped in, everybody did what they had to do to get a good win.
Now Clay Cow is a guy that killed you both times he played you last year, but Mark Mullen held him to just a couple of assists, no goals, and Michael Hamilton also saw a lot of playing time. What did you see from the two of them?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Hamilton, we said it a couple of weeks ago, we got to start getting him into the fold a little bit. He's a guy that's been around a long time, certainly cares an awful lot, and is vocal. So he's starting to fall into his own a little bit. Mark Mullen is a very, very driven young man, and when you tell him that this is your matchup, and it happens to be a high-powered matchup, he locks in, and he's done a great job for us all the way up to this, up until this game, and certainly this game.
Now on offense, Ian Bradish and Aaron Jones not in the lineup for you, but the team responds. You still get 13 goals. And this is something that you've kind of spoken about the whole season, how this year, because you don't have those proven players necessarily, you have to just plug in different guys and have that depth. So we saw people like Tyler Begley step up. Tyler Johnston had a nice game for you, Mike Malave. What'd you see from them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're talking about a lot of young guys out there. When you mentioned Begley, Johnston, Malave, those are all freshmen. And everybody pulled their weight, and they did a good job. And I thought we played really well as a team. I thought we shared the ball. I thought, we only had 5 turnovers in the first half. That's a record for us this year. And listen, balls hit sticks and shafts and pipes, and turnovers are part of it. But to have 5, that was, we were proud of that. So we were happy with those young guys stepping up, and everybody really just stepping up a little bit.
Adrian Sorichetti had a fantastic game, 5 points for him. Steve Serling finally was able to break out. He's had some struggles this year.
I think I saw him smile.
And I'm sure he hasn't had the chance to too many times with only 1 point coming into that Delaware game. Why do you think this was the game? Adrian's had some good games, but why was this the game that Steve just finally clicked?
Well, I'll be honest with you, this wasn't the game. It was the Harvard game, and it didn't show up in the points column, but the Harvard game, he started to come back. And the Notre Dame game, yeah, it didn't show up in the points column again, but he started to do things, and you can't go from 0 to 60. And then at this point in time, he buried 2 of his shots. He had a great assist, and it looked like Steve Serling of old, and he's got a little pep in his step now, and we're never leaving Steve Serling behind. He's a guy that we loved when he called and said, "Coach, I'm coming back." And this team goes as Searles goes, and he's just a wonderful impact player for us. It may not be in the scores column all the time, but he brings a lot to this table.
And you brought up John Antonetis at the face-off X. How much do you think the success that they had was him, or is it just maybe the wing players are gaining a little bit more confidence in helping him out?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think, when John gets in a groove, it is one of those feel-good positions. It's like the goalie, you make a couple saves and the ball looks like a beach ball. When you start to face off and you start to understand your opponent and you start to really, be able to be on the ref's whistle, then, things starting to go your way. That's great. We can get those 2 guys in the zone, then we'll be in good shape. But the wing play, it's better. I mean, and again, We have freshmen flanking John Antonotti's, where, you know, 1 year ago they were seniors and guys that played an awful lot of lacrosse for us. So now they're freshmen and we're rebuilding that area, and those guys are doing a great job. John's starting to become more comfortable pushing the ball out behind him as well as pushing it in front of him. And when you can have both, then you become twice the threat.
Now, Delaware beat you twice last year, once at their place, once here at your place in the CAA tournament. So how much did the team want this win, and how much did you want this win?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we want every win. And, you know, the CAA one certainly helps. Revenge obviously was on our mind. But yeah, it was a big win for us. We thought we could get a little bit out, or a lot of it out of the Notre Dame game if we could have won that one, certainly Fairfield. And to be 2 goals away from really having a pretty good record, and it's, you know, instead of being 3-3, now all of a sudden you're 5-1 and you're sitting in the top 10. Well, it wasn't meant to be, but at least we're moving in a good direction right now. We got to stay strong. One of my concerns is how do we handle success now. This is the one thing that we haven't covered. We've played from behind. We've won some games. We've lost some games. We've responded, but we've never won a game by 9 goals. And now all of a sudden, we got to see how these young guys respond. And tomorrow night, you know, I'm thankful that we have a midweek game, but I'm also very concerned because St. John's is one heck of a lacrosse team.
Now you bring up St. John's. In years past, this was kind of a gimme game, but now their program is getting significantly better. Tons of talented recruits in there. Gave you guys a little bit of trouble last year. What have you seen from them?
Yeah, the word gimme is gone. Jason Miller has done a wonderful job there. They gave us everything that we can handle last year. It was a rough one. They you know, 1-goal game versus Syracuse. They got 2 big wins over Stony Brook and Rutgers in the last couple of days. They are a high quality team, and they're doing great things over there. We got to be concerned with their attack first and foremost. They got a couple of middies. One didn't play last year. He got a little bit of a sports hernia, and but their attackmen, you know, those guys can play, and they play really well together. And we got to be on it at the face-off X. Their young man is doing a great job. You know, above 50%. Their goalie's playing well. Defensively, they've got a scheme, and they follow it, and they scrap it up. And that's we got to be able to make sure that we match their scrappiness tomorrow night here at Sherwood.
Now you have one more game this week after St. John's. You take on Drexel. You have to go to Philly. This was a game 2 years ago where it was 11-11 late, and then Drexel was able to get 2 late goals. Robert Church had 7 goals for them in that game. They still have some of the players from that team, most notably Mark Manos, their goalie. What are you expecting from Drexel? Yeah, I mean, we haven't even looked at it yet, to be honest with you, because, you know, we got our hands full with St. John's, but, you know, Drexel, next CAA game. On the road, hostile environment, you know, night game down there. We know that we'll have our hands full, but, you know, right now, St. John's. So we'll bring it back to this St. John's game then. What's going to be the key to victory?
Just making sure that we're focused at the task at hand. You know, one of the sayings that we have going right now is no matter how big or how small the task, as long as tomorrow we have less to do, and that means we're just working hard each day towards our goal, then we're moving in a good direction. And certainly with some young guys and some of the older guys, I think we're starting to mesh a little bit, and let's slowly get into it, and you know, let's take one step at a time.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot and good luck.
You got it.
And thank you, Hofstra fans, for joining us inside the WB Mason Coaches Report with Seth Tierney.